at home unattended. And some people were asking about the humidity in Korea and how bad it can get. Well, it can get pretty rough. I mean, yesterday was probably one of the bigger days where we had a lot of heat. It ended up, it was about 10 or 11 degrees higher than normal. And then the humidity level, I think, in our area was like 89%. So yeah, we're getting that sticky, yucky humidity. Thankfully today, we've got overcast, the temperature has gone down, but we're getting to the point of we're getting some massive humidity. And so some people were asking, like, how much humidity do you get in Korea? And it ends up, I want to show you what we have. So this is our dehumidifier. So this takes the water out of the air. And let me see if I can do this without killing myself or spilling this. This has been running 24 hours and it ends up, it is full. And yeah, we'll show you how full this is because it is a doozy. So, and yeah, this thing will run 24/7, and in 24 hours, boom, that's what we end up having. That is a lot of water. So, I told you that was a lot of water. Oh, yeah. So there's even bigger units than this, but we figured just having this one would be fine. And this is kind of, I guess, the average size of the dehumidifiers that take the water, the humidity out of the air, and it ends up, it's, like I said, it ends up doing its job. And this thing will just keep cranking. And what we can end up seeing there is we're looking at, currently, is it 73% humidity. And this thing will start running, and yeah, now we're down to 72, 70, 69. So once it starts processing, and it should be, I think, around 50-ish. Yeah, we got about 44 on that there. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot of the humidity out of the air, and which is very necessary. So yeah, that is definitely something that you need to do in Korea, because the more humidity, the things that pop up with humidity is mold. And a lot of people have, like we've got tile on this wall. We ended up getting tile on that wall. And then of course we had all the wallpaper taken off, and all down through that hallway, we had tile put in, but there's still wallpaper like in the bedrooms. And I'm not gonna show you the master, but with this is our guest room, and it all has wallpaper. And if you don't take care of the humidity, what ends up happening is you'll start to get mold. And a lot of service members and people that come to Korea, they don't understand that you need to get a dehumidifier. And it is really, it can be a real big problem, especially when we're talking about, let me get set here. When we're talking about humidity, and we're talking about mold and mold remediation, a lot of that stuff ends up being, it's very problematic, especially here in Korea when we talk about mold and things like that. So let me get you guys a little bit closer so I feel more in touch with you. So anyway, yeah. Mold in Korea can be a huge thing. And then right behind that is air quality. And so with that, we've got a couple of things that you need to have a dehumidifier during summer, absolutely, because humidity will get into the 90s. And so when you're talking 90 some odd plus degree heat, 95-degree heat with humidity in the 90s, it's like you're swimming and your hair gets all frizzy and nobody, I don't know any Koreans or foreigners who like Korean summers. Honestly, it just doesn't. It's not a thing, and a lot of people just don't appreciate it. But it does make you appreciate the spring and the fall. And some people say that the Korean winters were really horrible and bad. Compared to when I first got to Korea, which was 1988, just prior to the '88 Olympics, while I was in the military, those winters were cruel. They were just obscenely cruel. The winters we have now, yeah, it'll get down to 17, 16, 15 degrees Celsius, get it, below zero or whatever. It's not that bad compared to what I remember before. So, yeah, there's a lot of, the winters aren't as bad as what they used to be. But then again, the winters I experienced is when I was in the military, I was out in the field and doing all that, soldier stuff and living in tents and stuff. Now I'm retired, living in an apartment. But we still did the first year or the first few months we were here. We actually got here in October, 2.5 years ago, and through October, November, December, and I think it was January, February, we ended up walking approximately a mile from where we resided to go on post and hit the post gym. We didn't take a taxi, we just ended up walking. And, we were waiting to get our visas approved, and people were saying, well, why didn't you rent a car? And it's like, well, if you rent a car, you can't bring it on post. So even though I'm a military retiree who is going to be retiring here in Korea, they wouldn't let me register the car on post because it was a rental. So we just ended up doing the old shoe leather type thing. But even then, the winters weren't bad like I used to remember, and my wife can attest to that as well. So the best times of the day during the summer is early morning, or currently, excuse me, currently in the evenings. So after the sun goes down, at least for right now, it ends up, the weather gets nice and cool, you get a breeze, it's doable. Most people will walk their dogs either early in the morning or go for walks, late in the evening and things like that. But during the day, yeah, it's horrible Korean summers. The other thing I wanted to talk about, if you're coming to Korea, besides having a dehumidifier, during the winter, you might need a humidifier to bring water back into, so it doesn't get too dry. So you've got those two things. So we've got a dehumidifier, we've got a humidifier, and we rotate those out through the year. The other thing that we end up having is air quality. So we have an air purifier. And matter of fact, if we take a look at there, that is the air purifier. And that's kind of an important thing to have as well. Now we've got a little, it's kind of activated now, but so it's not 100%, but that's just because I have the windows open and we're getting a good cool cross breeze in here. But this will run and filter your air, and that is definitely something that you need to have if you're in Korea, because of the air quality can end up being just oppressive. And so, how oppressive, do you ask? Glad you asked, thank you. Air quality in Korea can get really rough a couple times during the year. And the air quality will get so bad that you will get national notifications, national emergency alerts, alerting people that the air quality is bad, and that if you're old, if you have, breathing problems, symptoms, asthma, whatever it is, that they recommend that you stay inside. And it is definitely a lot worse than when I first got here in the late 80s, and even as I was here during the 90s and so on and so forth. The last time My last time during the military, we left Korea in 2002, and then I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I retired out from there. But there was some noticeable increase in pollution back in 2002, but when we came back this time, 2.5 years ago, it was really noticeable. So, back then you didn't really have air purifiers. I mean, they were there, but we didn't notice anything in regards to that. And we got a comment that says, Florida humidity without us air quality combined. The comment went away. Yeah, Florida's got some kicking humidity as well. There are some people that I chat with, and it's just, we almost thought about going to Florida to retire there. But the thought of the tornadoes and storms and all of that stuff, hurricanes, whatever they have down there, just didn't give us a warm fuzzy. So yeah, we could have been in the northern part of Florida. We would have been all right. We've got some friends out there. But yeah, we ended up here in Korea. But yeah, now you definitely need air purifiers here in Korea. Now there's times of the year where the air quality is really good, and of course after the rain, the air quality is really good. But yeah, you get all that stuff from China and neighboring countries that burn trash. They don't have regulation on their industrial pollution that they, put out. It's not like the United States. It's not like other countries that have regulations to, purify the air and reduce the amount of pollution that goes into the air. Unfortunately, China doesn't do a lot of that. And other countries, smaller countries, third world countries, yeah, they're just not at that place where they do that because they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the money. And so all of that stuff comes down and boom, hits us. Hits Korea and places like that. So generally, if you live in the center of the peninsula of Korea, you'll get some bad weather. But if you live on the coast or on the tip of the peninsula, or maybe Jeju-do, you obviously get better air quality because you're closer to the ocean and the ocean breeze and stuff like that. So it's just part of what it is to be retired here in Korea. But other than that, aside from those things, if you can put up with that, retiring in Korea has been really good for us. And so once you navigate, learn how to, compromise on certain things and, put up with the horrible summers here. Even my wife, who's Korean, doesn't like the Korean summers. It's just so oppressively hot. It's like, don't touch me. Don't even look at me. That's how bad the humidity can get here in Korea. So, yeah, but other than that, it's pretty good. So when the summer hits, we'll go a little bit earlier to go to the gym. We hit the gym about 3-4 days a week, and then make sure we'll go early in the morning so it's still kind of, cool weather. And then after that, we just look for places, either we stay home or we look for places that are up in the mountains. We'll go take some trips or whatever, or definitely places that have air conditioning. One thing I can say about Koreans is they have a high tolerance for heat and humidity, way better than me. I run hot most of the time anyway, and so as soon, like yesterday, it was 86, 87 degrees, something like that, and the humidity was like 88.4, and I was already sweating. Of course, I'm just wearing shorts and tank top, and I'm just trying to be cool and stay cool, and yeah, it wasn't working. So, but Koreans, it's funny because you'll see them, it'll be hot, it'll be humid, and they'll still be wearing pants. They'll still be wearing long sleeve shirts. They'll still be wearing hoodies. I don't know how they do it. It's just it's something in their genetic makeup that it's like, hey, we don't sweat much and they don't smell much. And then there's my side, the German and side of the family, and yeah, we sweat and we smell and stuff like that. It's just a thing, but it's really odd to see people complaining about the heat, Koreans complaining about the heat, and it's like you're wearing long pants, you're wearing a shirt, and then you're wearing a blouse or a shirt over, long sleeve shirt over that, and then you're wearing a hat, which I get, to keep the sun out of your eyes. But a lot of it has to do that Koreans don't like suntans. And I don't, it's some fashion thing, you know, don't be tan, because I think that way back in the day in Korea, if you were tan, that means you did a lot of hard manual labor and you were out in the sun. And the beauty standards of Korea and many other Asian countries like Japan or Philippines or whatever, the beauty standard is pale is good, you know, and it's kind of like, I don't know, you know, color is good too. Personally, I don't care. I think, you know, being tan and having some color and all that, but you end up, and maybe that's a reason why some Koreans, or a lot of Koreans, overdress even in the summertime and it's oppressively hot and humid, because they don't want to get sunburned. They don't want to get tanned. You know, the big thing is, you know, sunscreen everywhere. And it's, you know, long sleeve shirts and the whole 9 yards. And it's just like, wow, you could be so much cooler if you just shed some clothes. And I don't know, that's their call. But yeah, summers are a little oppressive here in Korea. No joke. Some of the places that we have been to, like there's a cave where the temperature is like 70 some odd degrees, so we went there. Actually, I have that in one of the videos. I took a video of that of me and the wife, and that was a great place to go in the summertime, because it was so nice and cool. And wind was going through. It was an old abandoned mine, and they have it as a tourist attraction. They have all kinds of stuff in there, which was really interesting. And the best part was it was really cool. I loved it. Going up to Soraksan, going to the beaches where you get more wind off of the coast and things like that. I like that. Oppressive heat and humidity, yeah, don't like that. Oh, and get on a train. Get on a train in Korea during rush hour in oppressive heat and humidity, and what do you end up with? Yeah, it is miserable. I will be sweating like a pig, and you'll have people with the hand fans, and they have electric fans. And I saw this one lady, she had an electric fan in this hand and a regular fan in this hand, and then around her neck she had the little fan that was blowing up. And it was just like, yeah, that's but she had a long sleeve shirt, long pants on, and like a cardigan sweater on top of that. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't know. I'm just not a slave to fashion as much as some other people are. But yeah, riding the train. The good thing is that like on the first class trains, they have air conditioning, so it's more bearable. But if you get the economy, and I remember back in the day, back in the 80s and early 90s, the trains in Korea weren't as comfortable and didn't have air conditioning. I remember riding trains in Korea that had zero air conditioning, zero fans. It was like train, window, and oppressive heat. Sometimes the windows wouldn't open. We would ride on the back of the train, you know, where the last train car, and then you have the door and it had a little area there. People would just kind of gravitate toward that just to get some wind and to cool people off. And in between the train cars, kind of the same thing. Yeah, so much has changed here in Korea since the 80s. It's not even funny. So it's definitely got better. And yeah, so some people are asking me, you know, what is the humidity like during the summer? Like I said, yesterday we had the temperature was 10 degrees hotter or 11 degrees hotter, more than normal. Humidity was 88.4, if I remember correctly. And now it's going to be cooler the next few days. We might get some rain on Friday. And then after that, we're going to start getting into the oppressive heat where we get into the 80s, low 80s, mid 80s. And then after that, it's miserable. So spend a lot of time indoors. But we might make some trips to some different places, and the wife wants to go see some stuff, so we'll take some trips before it gets super hot and do that. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Being retired here in Korea, people asking about, well, do you need to have a dehumidifier? Absolutely, especially if you have wallpaper in your apartment or your house. You definitely need a dehumidifier to help ward off the mold that can form. But with the dehumidifier, haven't had any mold problems ever. Back in the day when wife and I first got married, yeah, there was mold problems. We didn't have air conditioners. It was just like the little 12-inch fan that we bought at the PX, and we'd sit in front of the fan and just kind of still be miserable because it was just moving hot, humid air. And yeah, things are so much better. AC. AC is awesome. I think the person who invented air conditioning needs to get a Nobel Prize, because when you don't have it and then you do get it, you realize what an accomplishment that is. So kudos to the person who invented the air conditioner. That again, Nobel Peace Prize for that. Maybe that's why there's so many wars. There's not enough air conditioners. I don't know. But other than that, that's what we got going on. Still doing hobby stuff, still going to the gym, still working out. Going to be 59 this year, if you could believe that. And we've been here, we're coming up this year, we'll be here 3 years, come this October. So things are going well. And some people have asked, are you planning to go back to the United States? You know, some people ended up saying, you're going to regret retiring overseas and you're going to regret it. You're going to come crawling back to the United States. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Willis Carrier invented the AC. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Willis needs a Nobel Peace Prize or whatever it is, Pulitzer Prize for keeping people cool. That is definitely a thing. What were we talking about? Yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. So that's what we got going on. Still doing hobby stuff, still taking care of business. Everyday living stuff isn't a problem. Oh yeah, regretting living in Korea. Some people said that I would regret retiring overseas. Some people said I would regret retiring in Korea because you don't have freedoms like you do in the United States. And it's like, you know what? Every country has its own laws, and its expressions of freedoms are in different forms. And here in Korea, there is the freedom of speech and things like that. Although there are some stipulations that are a little bit different than the United States, I don't mind those. For example, here in Korea, as a foreigner, it is illegal for me to protest the Korean government or to protest anything at all. It's a law on the books and it's not really enforced. But then again, foreigners that are over here are either retired, they're working, they're gainfully employed, and they don't have time to protest. It's just not a thing. As far as crime in Korea, people have asked me about crime and how does it compare to what we experienced back in the United States. I've never felt so safe as being here in Korea. Some people say that it's one of the safest places, aside from Malaysia or Dubai or whatever, even though I don't count Dubai because of the massive sex trafficking and slavery and all the other weird things that goes on with that. But just on the whole, the crime rate in Korea is really low, and my wife and I have never felt unsafe here in Korea. So that is, that's a bonus right there. When I was in the United States, we lived in Colorado and lived in a number of other states. There were definitely places where we lived that we did not feel safe. There's places where we lived and we felt safe, and then over the years, bad people moved into the neighborhood and made it an unsafe place, and crime increased. We experienced all that. Some of you might know that I was a concealed carry firearms instructor. I was part of a contractor team that taught at Fort Carson for firearms, and so I did a lot of shoot, move, and communicate stuff. Concealed carry weapon holder myself, along as being an instructor, and there's a couple times that I've had to draw my weapon in Colorado. Thankfully, I didn't have to discharge my weapon, and the person who threatened my life with deadly force or the threat of serious bodily injury because it got up their nose because they were high and whatever it was, and I wasn't instigating anything, I was just doing my own thing, had to, when somebody draws a knife, you pull the gun because the knife is a threat, and that changed their mind real quick. We've had people that have stole stuff from different places that we lived in, property crimes. There's places that we lived where it's like, yeah, you buy extra locks to put on the doors and you buy a security system. because it was all we could afford at that time in those types of neighborhoods. You just do what you had to do. So I really appreciate the security that comes with living in Korea. They still have crime, and granted, there's only 50 million people who live in Korea versus like, what is it, like 320 million in the United States. But the percentages of crime, it seems Koreans have a lot more respect for each other and foreigners than we do in the United States. So yeah, there's parts of the United States in Colorado, Denver, huge areas of Colorado. Pueblo, Colorado, good Lord. There's places where the police don't go. If you're not part of the gang that's in that neighborhood, you just don't go there. Drugs, all kinds of crazy stuff going on, gang activity. That's a reason why we left Colorado, is because the increasing crime and law enforcement just didn't seem to be being able to meet the need of the increased crime, of bringing that crime down. And of course, Pueblo, Colorado is very problematic. Colorado is very problematic because it's kind of at the crossroads for drug trafficking, all types of stuff. Colorado is kind of like right in the middle. So there's a lot of drug activity, sex trafficking, and worse that comes from being in Colorado. And then of course, with the liberal administration that is there, they're not hard on crime. So when you're not hard on crime, crime increases, and criminals from other states where crime is punished harshly, they move to places where crime is not punished harshly, and then you get more crime. So yeah, what are the odds? And being an independent, I like good ideas from both sides of the fence and everywhere in between. But when you start not protecting your citizens, or you institute policies and things that don't punish and protect the citizens of the state or city or municipality that you're in, yeah, I can't stand behind that. And so that's another reason, was the increasing crime. And like I said, Koreans have more respect. They're more, how could you put it? More respectful. They're hardworking. Most Koreans work six days a week. The wife has family members and, that own some businesses, and they work 6 days a week, working 10, 12 hours a day. And so they're hardworking, and they don't have a lot of time for BS. And so maybe that has something to do with it. Let's see, what, humid already? I am early here in June and avoid the humidity. Yeah, like I was saying, yesterday it was in the mid 80s for temperature, and the humidity was 88.4. So yeah, and we just emptied out, if you rewatch this video, we just emptied out our dehumidifier that was totally full after 24 hours. So yeah, it's getting there. We have a dip in temperature, but it's going to get hot and miserable. So yeah, fun stuff. But no matter where you retire, you're going to have to put up with that. And even in the United States, if you go to places like Florida, if you go down south, or even up north like Illinois, I don't know why you'd want to retire in Illinois. Horrible taxes and property tax and all of those things. But you have places where the weather is terrible, but you might have low taxes, and so that's why a lot of people retire in such places. But it's just something you need to put up with. Even in California, where my grandparents retired, in San Bernardino, it would get really, really hot. But it wasn't humid hot, but it was just hot. And at least we had a pool, and you could cool off. But now San Bernardino has really gotten downhill, and since they got the casino in there, and there's places where used to be beautiful neighborhoods when I was living with my grandparents. Now they're rundown slums, in multi-million-dollar homes in those neighborhoods. And so California is just going the way of the dodo. It's just getting worse and worse, and to the point of where, just going to get a little political here. So again, as an independent, I have no horse in the race of either side. I like good ideas from either. But Newsom has really brought down California, in my opinion. I still have family members in California, and they really regret Newsom. and the policies, because there's less policing, there's less protection of their citizens. Many of the counties in California is going bankrupt, and now Newsom has flipped the script and saying, healthcare for everybody, and illegal aliens and undocumented workers, as they call them. Well, now he's changing his thing, saying, "Oh, this isn't sustainable." Well, duh. So I think the two states that have the most people moving out is California and New York. And they're moving to places where there's less crime, there's more police enforcement, people are more respectful to each other. And if you kind of carry that out, that's why we retired overseas. Do you expect it to be worse in June? Oh, yes, it will definitely be worse. Governor Newsom's, something. It faded off. I see the comment and it's like really tiny, so it's hard to read. But yeah, June, July is gonna be horrible. June, July, and August are kind of the worst months for about 2.5 months within there. And this summer is supposed to be more humid than last summer, or I guess way more humid than previous years. So it's really gonna get rough. So we got that going on. But yeah, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse, especially this year. So not really looking forward to that. Let's see. Kevin says you'll be miserable if you're during June, July, and August. Yes, absolutely. It is. It is very horrible. And I think I got to close the windows now because I'm starting to feel a little bit more humidity. But we still got a nice breeze. This would be a good time to go for a walk. But the dehumidifier is dehumidifying, and yeah, it's cranking at 72%. So there's the dehumidifier. Yeah, I told you. Let's see. I am in California. I'm sorry. I lived in California for a while, and when I was there, it was awesome with my grandparents. But you're looking at, the 70s and the 80s, early 80s, lived out in San Bernardino, and that's back in the day where California was good. And then it kind of declined from there, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's what we got going on. Some good stuff here in Korea. So other than that, that's all we got going on. Doing some more videos, found out some other information in regards to veterans. Thankfully to a guy named Mitch. I'll give you a little bit of a heads up. People are wondering about finances, and in a future video, once I get some more topics that I want to cover and discuss, basically those with VA disability can get direct deposit of your VA disability into a foreign bank account. Who knew? What are the odds? So generally, for 72%, yeah, it's definitely had to close the windows and let that thing run. There's only so much you can open the window, even though it feels great. That humidity just starts rolling in, and yeah, you got to do your dehumidifier. But yeah, a lot of people are wondering that come to retire here in Korea, like our situation. My wife used to be a Korean citizen. She got the F4 visa. I had the F1 visa, which is now being renamed an F3 visa as her spouse. So that's how I get to stay here. That's how we retire here, because they don't have a normal retirement-friendly visa here in Korea. There's still a monetary requirement, for the F4 and the F1, because I'm not allowed to work in Korea. My wife is, but we're both retired, so we're not working. Screw that. But excuse me. But yeah, it ends up. It's kind of interesting. Let's see. I don't know. I lost that one, whatever that one was. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit closer so I can read the small text box when that comes in. But what were we talking about? Money, We're talking about money. And VA veterans that get VA disability, that can be direct deposited into a foreign bank account, which I did not know, which makes me wonder, if you can do it with a VA disability, why can't you do that with your military pension? You should be able to do that. I mean, it's 2025. Come on, seriously. Online banking is a thing, international. It's just ones and zeros going over and being transferred from, what's the difference between going from the Department of Defense shooting my pension over to a US bank account with routing number, bank number, and all that stuff, and boom, between that and going overseas. The only difference would be maybe an additional fee by a foreign bank for that international wire transfer from the DoD, so I don't see what the big deal is. That should have been a thing a long time ago, but it's not. So with that, some people have had to come up with different ways to get their money here in Korea. So personally, being a retiree, I have access to the military base. There's Navy Federal Credit Union, which I use, so I will withdraw money from there. I'll take it off post. I'll go to a money exchange store, which gives better rates than the Korean banks or the US banks, and then we go deposit money into our Korean bank. With that, regular wire transfers are expensive, so you can expect to pay anywhere from $25 to $50, maybe a little bit more, by your US bank. And then even the receiving Korean bank, you might have a fee tacked on to that as well. Maybe another $10, $20, $30 or more. So yeah, they're gonna get you one way or another. But one way to overcome that is by using Wise. I've covered this in a previous video and some people have used it before. Personally, I haven't used it, but the rates of Wise on that app is kind of the lowest that I've seen. And so you have Wise, you have Remitly, what was the other one I was looking at? Because I didn't know I would be able to do the Navy Federal Credit Union thing, but so that's why I didn't pursue that. But Wise seems to have the lowest rates, so of transferring funds from a US bank to a Korean bank. There's people that have contacted me and talked with me and said, hey, I use Wise to transfer money from a US bank to Korean family members, for gifts or whatever it is. And it is the lowest rates that they have found. So that's kind of something to look into. But yeah, the VA disability checks can be submitted to a Korean bank account. Now, that's a great option. I don't know. It's hard to, would I do that? I don't know. That's a very interesting question. I don't know if I would do that, but then again, maybe that would be a good thing with my VA disability, but then you still have to do the exchange, and then the exchange at the Korean bank is a little bit worse, so we would lose a little bit of money, but the convenience would be there. But then again, you have to keep an eye on the amount of money that is in your Korean bank account. Somebody was contacting me. Good Lord, my English is horrible. Somebody contacted me and was talking about, putting a bunch of money in a Korean account and preparing to buy an apartment, buy a car, and so on and so forth. And I asked if they knew about the FBAR and the IRS reporting for having funds in a foreign bank account. So it's like foreign bank account reporting. And you have to file that with the IRS every year if you have $10,000 or more in a foreign bank account. If not, and the IRS finds out about it, you can get fined, and the fines are pretty significant. So, yeah, it's kind of like, maybe I could get my disability and put it direct deposited into my Korean bank. But then again, that would build and build and build over time, and it definitely have more than $10,000 in a month eventually, because it would just grow because we save. The only thing that really comes out of our Korean bank account is like our property tax, cell phone bills automatically deducted out of that. Of course, our internet and stuff, and TV is bundled along with that, which is half of what it was in the United States, which is awesome. But yeah, there's not a lot that comes out of that. So we stay below that $10,000 limit. Not for any nefarious reasons, but it's just one less thing that we have to do when we file our taxes. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So if you do keep more than $10,000, are you going to get taxed more? No, you're not. It's just a reporting thing for the IRS to keep track of how much money, because if you are making money in a foreign country, you have to realize that Korea and the United States have a double taxation treaty. So you won't get doubly taxed, but the US, if you're making money, they want their taxes, is what it comes down to. And how that agreement is made and how you make your money, who gets the first dip, is Korea. If you make money in Korea by being employed here in Korea, do they tax you first? I'm not sure how that would work out. That's not something, because we don't work anymore. So yeah, interesting questions. Let's see, what are some other questions? Driver's license was another question. How easy was it to exchange our US driver's license into a Korean driver's license? There's actually a video on that in the playlist somewhere for being retired in Korea, and we talk about that. I think it ended up being 10,000 won, and then we had to pay a few thousand for the eye test and whatever. But there's a reciprocity agreement with Korea with, I think, around 14 states. How do I find an English-speaking immigration lawyer in Seoul? Is there a list somewhere? Actually, that is a good question. I don't know. You'd have to go online and do some Google search or OpenAI or ChatGPT to try to find some websites for English-speaking Korean immigration lawyers. And I've seen some seen some advertisements on that, but the Korean immigration lawyer that we used was, my wife found them online back when we were in the United States, and they answered all the questions. My wife got a nice warm fuzzy, and they have been awesome. They actually processed and did our F1 and F4 visa paperwork, and they've kept us abreast and apprised of all the stuff that goes on. And they process our immigration renewal for our visas. They've just been awesome, but they don't speak English. So kind of got to do either the cell phone translation thing or have my wife there, but it's not really a big deal. But that's a good question, and I'll see if I can find some. The only thing I can't verify how good those people would be, because I haven't experienced that. I don't use English-speaking Korean immigration lawyers. Not that there's probably a lot of great ones, and there's maybe some others, but I'm really hesitant on recommending things that I don't personally use or experience. With our Korean immigration lawyer, I wholeheartedly agree and recommend them. They've done great for us, and good people. They're actually in the same building as Korean immigration in Songtan, which is close to Osan Air Base. So that's because we live in this area, and that is the immigration office that covers this area. So yeah, they've been really great. But yeah, you'd have to do some online checking. Sorry, I don't know any English-speaking Korean immigration lawyers, but if you could do a search, you could probably find some and get a free consultation. I've seen some advertisements for that, so they can get you started. But with that, if you're in the United States and you're thinking about coming to Korea, contact your Korean consulate. They will be able to give you the information for the F1, the F4, the F3 visa. Let's say, matter of fact, we ran into a guy who had watched my videos. He's already here in Korea, but he's currently working for the government, and his wife has turned 65. So his question was, would it be better to get an F4 visa for her or do the dual citizenship? And the F4 visa would be kind of a waste of time. Because once she reaches 65 and you have Korean ancestry, you can apply to get dual citizenship. So US and Korean citizenship, so her citizenship would be restored, and then it's much easier. I wouldn't say it's much easier. It's just another way that he would be able to stay in Korea, being the spouse of basically a Korean citizen. And again, it's just a different type of visa. Processing time is about the same as the F1/F3 visa. And actually, I think it ends up, she gets dual citizenship, he would be able to apply for an F6 visa. And again, processing time is about the same, so there's a few variations of that. But if you're in the United States and before you come to Korea, contact your Korean consulate. They can get you all the information. I've been chatting with a number of couples, and a few of them have actually gotten their F4 and F1 visas before they even came to Korea. So when they landed, boom, they were able to put in for their Korean registration card, kind of like the green card that we have in the United States. And I think that took a month, I think it was, for that. And after that month, they were able to get a Korean bank account, permanent Korean cell phone service, internet, phone, be able to do all the stuff that you need to do as a long-term or as a visa holder here in Korea. I wouldn't say long-term, because usually for the F4, like for my wife, she has the F4 visa. The term of her visa was 2 years. As being her spouse, I had the F1 visa. Guess how many years my term was? 1. It's like we're married. We've been married 30 plus years. We're coming up on 35 years this year. And it's like, why is my visa term 1 year and my wife's 2 years? So after the first year, it's just, well, that's just the way it is. And it's like, okay, well, okay, that is. So the second year, when it was up for my renewal, we got with our immigration lawyer and asked, hey, is there a way that I can get 2 years? And they said, yeah, there's some additional paperwork, our marriage certificate, make sure you have an original and an apostilled copy of that, and then the birth certificate of our child, which she's in her 30s, and then boom, immigration is like, oh, okay, yeah, so you're committed in marriage. And, well, yeah, 30 some odd years and a kid. And so they stamped it. And so now my visa term is 2 years. And it marries up with the same expiration as my wife. So we both have the same month for expiration of our visas. So we got a little ways to go until I hit 65. She's a few years younger than me. So yeah, we still got a ways to go. The other question people have asked, do I draw Social Security? No, not yet. I'm 59, but I am planning on drawing my Social Security at 62. I know, even though it's only 70%, it makes more sense to draw it at 70 because you'll get the full amount. People don't know when you're going to die, but life expectancy for males, I think, is 78 years old. 74, 78, something like that. I think it's 70, let's just say 77. And then for women, it's like 84 point something or something like that. Just based on that, I would rather draw my Social Security early. I don't need to, but when you start doing the math and figuring everything out, it's like, you also have to count for the years that you're not getting paid. So if you draw it at 67 or 70, whatever it is, think of all the years that you're not drawing that money, even if you draw it early. But personally, I think I'm gonna go ahead and draw it at 62. Maybe my wife, she'll wait until later so she can get a higher percentage. And then, yeah, there's that. But it's really, do you need it? Do you want it? Can you afford it? Is it a big deal? If it's such a big deal that you have to wait until you hit 67 or 70 years old, hopefully you got some other money to rely on until that time. So, but the good thing is the majority of the people that come retire, like us here to Korea, using the F4, F1 visa, or the dual citizenship, they don't have that problem. People who survive to 62 will have an 80% chance to live to 84, and of course the message faded out. Yeah, and I just recently looked at the life expectancy rates of people who live to the life expectancy of men and women, and what is the percentage of those who live, and like this person said it was 80%. I found some articles that said it was 50%, so maybe within there. But then again, living past that life expectancy, let's say life expectancy is 74 years old or whatever it is, 77, let's just say 77. 50% of people live past that. Well, if you live 77 years in one day and then have a heart attack, some of those people are included in that statistic. So you'd really have to dig into that. And then there's your personal health, family health history and all that stuff. So, and there's so many people that I've seen where it's like, oh, my parents, didn't even make it to retirement, or made it to retirement and 6 months later they were gone. And so they put in all that money in Social Security and wasn't able to reap that benefit. So I figured I'm just gonna take it while I can. Median death age is just that. Mathematical calculation, I would give more to family history. Okay, yeah, I would too. And again, nobody knows when they're gonna go. You could just slip, trip over some trash in the walkway, bang your head, and boom, you're gone. Aneurysm, whatever it is, hit by a car. There's just so many things. We're not guaranteed our next breath. But with that, at least we can plan and be conservative in our planning. And I think that's kind of what I'm doing. And if you don't need the money, heck, draw it and use it as part of a vacation fund. And then the other thing about your Social Security is that you're going to get that cost of living increase every year. So even though you're only going, let's say you draw at 62, you're only going to get 70% of that Social Security benefit. Okay, so you lose 30%, but then again, every year you're going to get that cost of living increase. So usually, which is around 2.5%, something like that. Prostate cancer, yeah. Guys have prostate cancer, and that's a consideration, something to look into. Got to stay on top of your health. But with that, take the money early, get the cost of living increases, which is like I think if I remember correctly, it was around 2.5% is the average for like the last 10 years. So, you're looking at that increase every year for that aspect. And then if you're a military retiree, now you've got the increases on that. We had some real good increases in the past. I think as the economy gets stronger, we'll get lower increases, which is fine. The current administration just passed and said that tips are no longer taxable. Even though I'm not working, I don't care about that, but that's awesome for people who make tips. And then there's also talk about how they want to make Social Security exempt from taxes as well. And then the other thing that the current administration wants to do is make it where people who make $150,000 or less don't get taxed at all. I mean, that would be incredible. That would be a huge benefit to seniors and a lot of people that are lower income. That would help out a lot of people because basically, especially for seniors on Social Security, everybody gets a pay increase, but seniors, their Social Security doesn't even meet minimum wage standards, so they need all the help that they can get. So, but then again, that's why a lot of seniors retire overseas in countries that aren't first world countries and where the dollar goes further, and so they can actually retire, like Philippines, Thailand. I think Cambodia is coming up on the list of being one of the countries. Portugal is a good one. Some South American countries. The dollar just goes further, and people who could not be able to retire are definitely looking at overseas retirement. So you just need to find the place that clicks for you. And while we considered Thailand, a little bit of Philippines, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, we looked at those, and nothing really clicked. But when we found that we could basically retire in Korea using the visa system like we have, that is what clicked for us. So you just need to find the place that clicks for you and jump on it and enjoy your retirement years. So thankfully, through what we've ended up doing, we were able to retire at 54. We spent a year on Oahu, thanks to our daughter, who invited us to live with her as she was going through residency. She was residing at the hospital through her residency. That's why they call it residency. We did laundry, got her home-cooked meals, and we got to stay on Oahu rent-free for a year, which was incredibly awesome. So hats off to my daughter for being so awesome and putting up with us. And then we came to Korea. And I will say that working and quitting the soul-sucking job that I had for the state of Colorado and retiring, it was the best thing that I did. And even though I'm going to lose out on money retiring early, that's okay with me. That is okay with me. And the mental health aspect of retiring early and enjoying it, even though we've had to make some cutbacks, make some compromises anytime you retire overseas, need to be flexible. It has definitely been worth it. So yeah, that comes into play. So it's not all, Mai Tais and beaches and retiring overseas. You're going to have your everyday life. But the thing is, the expenses here in Korea, where we live in our situation, are just about less than half than what we were paying in the United States. And the increases of the expenses in the United States were tremendous. Every year our property tax was going up $100 per year minimum. And then you start projecting and saying, okay, well, I'm 50 some odd years old now, and if I retire at 70 and you do $100 each year for property tax and take that out to 70 when you're going to retire, wow, yeah, it's like no wonder 3/4 of the seniors who are eligible to retire don't see themselves retiring at all. And then there's even a huge number of seniors who can't retire and they have to work because they can't, because the ever increasing expenses. So I think that's one of the big draws with retiring overseas is the reduced expenses. The property tax on our 4-bedroom, 2-bath apartment here is about $250 a year. Awesome. And the increase is really small compared to the increases that we had in the United States, like the example I gave you. It just crazy, And my wife ended up working. She worked for a nonprofit agency that did senior care with grants and stuff like that. And a lot of people on Social Security, they couldn't make the ends meet. They were burning the candle at both ends, and people were couldn't buy toilet paper. Seniors couldn't buy toilet paper, so they would ration it out, or they do the old bucket and wash themselves after they went to the bathroom, because they just didn't have the funds, because the expenses were so high. And even though they had subsidized housing and things like that, they still couldn't get those ends to meet. And that is really problematic for a society, and especially its seniors. So coming to an overseas location, regardless of where it's at, having those reduced expenses really helps with your mental health. I use old corn cobs. You are a better man than I. I wouldn't be a corn cob type of guy. I would be like a banana leaf type person, or just the water. So, and with that being said, bidets are awesome. My whole life I thought bidets were, those are stupid. That's, kind of beneath me as an American. I tell you what, I love bidets. That's the other thing I love about Korea is the bidets. And it keeps you clean and fresh and washed and no dingleberries whatsoever. They are incredible. It's weird to get used to, but once you get used to it and you realize it is a great invention, it's probably air conditioning would be number one, bidets would be number two, and then everything after that. But when I go on post and we go work out at the gym and I go and I have to use toilet paper and wipe and all that stuff, I'm just like, oh, how crude. It's so provincial, I'm so used to my bidet. Oh, need to go home and go poo in my bidet. I like my bidet. It is good. It is good. Fresh and clean. Fresh and clean. Never thought I'd be saying that, but things happen when you retire overseas. Like I said, we'll get off the poo jokes. Let's see. Yep. Keep a travel bidet in your bag? A travel bidet? Really? I didn't know there was such a thing. Really? I mean, travel bidet, I would think it'd just be a water bottle with a hole poked in the top and but they have travel bidets? Really? That is something I'm going to have to Google. The things, AKA a water pistol. That's true. You could just carry a water pistol around, or just, that's what I need to do. I need to 3D print a cap for a water bottle that has a hole with like a little squirter, or you could just buy a water bottle that has a little pull top squirt thing. Yeah, why remake the wheel? Yeah, there you go, portable bidet. That's interesting. Yep, or a squirt gun. Going through your stuff, going through security at TSA. Hey, what's this? That's my portable bidet. I bet you get some pretty crazy looks. That's my portable bidet. I don't know how that would fly. That would be interesting. But anyway, that's what we got going on. A lot of interesting stuff here in Korea. Going to be doing some more videos, getting into more details. And for the people that don't know, you can contact me. I don't have it written up here. I don't think I can put text on here. But if you need to contact me, my email is officialthevariedlife@gmail.com. And I answer every single email I get, even the crazy ones. And let's face it, we're all a little bit crazy, so welcome to the dysfunctional family, but I answer everybody. The comments on the videos, it's kind of hard because I've got so many and it's hard to keep up with that. Korean hospital care is very good. Yeah, for the most part, but it depends. It depends on the hospital, and I have experienced this. The closer you are to Seoul and the bigger, the better the hospitals, the better care that you will get. Like Samsung Medical Center that we go to, that's one of the top 5 hospitals. I think there's St. Mary's, there's Samsung Medical Center, and I forget the names of the other ones, the other 3. But the big ones, you'll get the best care. Where we're at, which is close to Pyeongtaek and close to Camp Humphreys, you have Good Morning Hospital, which does okay care. You know, it's a decent hospital. They'll process our TRICARE overseas select paperwork, so that's good. But there's still, if you go outside of that and you go further away, even there are some bigger hospitals than Good Morning Hospital that we went to where the standards of care were less. And so it really kind of depends on where you go. But then again, it's like that everywhere. Veterans Hospital in Busan saved my life in 1994. Ooh, awesome. I didn't know they had a Veterans Hospital in Korea. Are you talking about the military hospital? Because I just recently checked, and there's no VA clinic. Korean vets, huh? Oh, Korean veterans. Oh, okay. So if Korean veteran, then yeah. But there is no VA clinic in Korea, which is weird. There's a VA clinic in the Philippines that you can go to. I think that's based in Manila. So if I wanted to do some increase on my disabilities as they progressively get worse, thank you, Uncle Sam, for the gift that keeps on giving. But I would have to go to Manila to be able to do those exams. But you would think Korea and Camp Humphreys is the largest overseas U.S. military base in the world. You would have a VA clinic here, but they don't. It's just, you just have to do your foreign medical program, go get your medical care, pay for it up front, and then you get reimbursed by the VA later, which is a month, 2 months down the road. It's still kind of an archaic system. So hopefully the current administration will fix the things that are wrong with the VA, as they're doing with a lot of other things. But yeah, it's medical care is really different. Like for example, my wife got shoulder surgery, and with that, the surgeon did an excellent job. But as far as aftercare, like physical therapy, the surgeon is like, just lift your arm, just stretch it out, stretch it out like this, and that's it. And it's like, that doesn't sound right. CB says the hospital is a Korean national hospital. Oh, okay. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Glad you're still with us. And thank God for the Korean hospitals. You can get some good care. So my wife had got shoulder surgery, and the physical therapy was like, no, that can't be right. And so my daughter, being a doctor, she looked online, I looked online, and we found physical therapy protocols and routines, and we found one that I think it was Mayo Clinic or something like that, some big hospital name, but it had like 12 weeks of different exercises for physical therapy, and my wife did that, and boom. So we were a little disheartened. My wife even asked about physical therapy from the surgeon, who is a great surgeon. Awesome job. But on the physical therapy side of the house, he's like, well, why would you want to do that? I kid you not. Why would you want to do that? If you want to do it, you can, but I don't see the need to. That is what he said. And it's like, wow, if you don't exercise and you don't go through, the range of motion and all the different exercises that my wife did, just look up, shoulder surgery rehabilitation programs, routines, PDF, look all that up. You'll find a ton of exercises and stretches to get that full mobility back. Because when you have that surgery, you definitely have a limited range of motion. And if you don't stretch and do all those things, you will end up with a permanent minimal range of motion. So yeah, I was really disheartened with that. And we even saw a Korean doctor in a clinic here, and we showed him and asked him, what's the deal with this? And he's like, yeah, it's so compartmentalized. And it's different from the United States that once you go to surgery in the United States, you're scheduled with physical therapy because they're going to make money off of that. They know that you're going to need to work back that range of motion, and it betters your chances of recovery and not getting injured again. So there are definitely some benefits there. But here in Korea, it's just like, I'm a surgeon, I do surgery. Yeah, if you want to do physical therapy, I don't understand why you would want to do that. Obviously, it's so compartmentalized. It's really weird. But I don't know how that would be at this one particular hospital. So I don't know if that's the same sentiment in all Korean hospitals. Hopefully not. I don't think it would be like that in Samsung or the big medical hospitals. But I just thought that was odd, that they had no physical therapy. No, you don't need to do that. If you want to, go ahead, but you don't have to. That was the thing. So that was very odd. But you will experience different quality of care and levels of care no matter what country you go to. So anytime. That's a great thing about the internet. It's the same in the U.S. Yeah, absolutely. You will find different levels of care in different hospitals depending on where you go. Sometimes based on, if you're in a poor neighborhood with a poor hospital, lower equipped, less staffed hospital than bigger, well-equipped and well-staffed hospitals, the quality of care will vary, and it's like that everywhere. So, just be on the lookout for that. And then whatever care you get, regardless of, always check the internet. Check Chat GPT, OpenAI, whatever it is, on whatever is ailing you. And if there's any type of recovery, double check and verify everything. And if you don't like the answer you're getting, get a second opinion. And that's anywhere you go, whether it's United States, because there's some questionable doctors everywhere. So yeah, it is what it is. But generally, like when I had my eye surgery up at Samsung Medical Center, that is the best care that I've gotten. The dental care that I've gotten was the best I've ever had in my entire life. The wife found a dental clinic in Godok, which is where the new Samsung mega facility is being built. The city just sprung out of nothing. And we went to a guy, and I think he was MIT or Harvard Dental. I can't remember which one. Incredible work. For $5,300, I had 4 implants done, like 5 crowns. I had some other work done. Awesome, incredible. Didn't feel pain. I got quotes for this when I was in the United States because my teeth were bad because of the substandard military dental work that I had gotten done over the years, and things where, this shouldn't have been a cavity, it should have been a crown type of things. This should have been a root canal, but it wasn't. It's just horrible care. But here in Korea, it was really, really good. And if I remember correctly, in the United States, all the work that I needed to get done was going to be about $20 some odd thousand. There's people that telling me where they live, it's either California or New York, that an implant was going to be $3,000 for one implant. So 3 times 4, that's 12 grand right there. And then the crowns, So I jumped on that. The thing is, I had to pay that out of pocket because our dental insurance wouldn't pay for all that stuff because it's cosmetic. But it was well worth the price of paying. And we actually have some other friends that we know that are getting work done at the same place. And yeah, just awesome. The dental services here are incredible. Hands down, the best I have ever had in my entire life. So yeah, but you still need to shop around and find a good, high quality reviewed dentist. And yeah, really good. Crowns cost $2,500 now in the US. Ooh, yeah, that sounds about right. I think the crowns in the US when we were still there, I think it was like 1,500 where we were at. But yeah, that's just crazy. And I think, you know, in medications, the other thing, medications here in Korea is definitely less expensive than the United States for the exact same medications. Exact same. I'm not talking generic brand. I'm talking this pharmaceutical company makes this medication and this is the name. The same medication as here in Korea cost is infinitely less. Haven't had that implant yet. Yeah, it painless. I was really surprised. But the medications, like after I got my implants and everything, incredible. You know, low cost. Pharmacies are great. We get a lot of our medications filled on the military base, so that's free, but we still have to pay for some stuff. But even then, the cost of the medications here in Korea is way less than the United States. So the current administration just signed, and again, I'm an independent, so I have no dog in the hunt for left or right. I'm kind of in the middle, and whoever has good ideas, let's run with it. But the president just signed that executive order saying that medicine prices, pharmaceutical prices need to be on the same as what they sell to other countries. So you can have a medication that's like $1,000 here in the United States. You go to Mexico or Canada or here in Korea and it's like $10, $7, boom. So the current administration really wants to bring those medication prices down. Even Japan is a bargain compared to the USA. Oh yeah, definitely. I've been to Japan and had some friends that married people from Japan, and yeah, the same thing. Medications are always cheaper in all of the other countries that I've been to. So I've been to a number of countries in South America, Korea, Japan, let's see, Mexico, Canada, South America, Panama, a couple other places, Taiwan. So medications are always less expensive. So if you have high medication costs, know that if you retire overseas, most likely you will be paying less. So the good thing is that with the reduction of those pharmaceutical prices in the United States is supposed to be coming down because I think they've been price gouging us. And it's just amazing. You know, people will do medication runs down to Mexico or up to Canada because medication costs are half or a third of what they are in the United States. So it's a good thing that that's changing. I think that that's definitely going to help out a lot of people. Insulin prices is definitely way low in overseas country compared to the United States. And again, the United States is making it more affordable. So that's a good thing. I don't agree everything with the current administration, but then again, I don't agree with any president that's been in office. There's always something I don't agree with. But being retired, being overseas, all of these little things, like the expenses, property taxes being low, food prices being low, you know, we bought our apartment so we don't have that big expense. Yeah, Mexico is inconsistent. Inconsistent in regards to medicine or medicine prices or government. The government's inconsistent because they can't get control of the criminal element there. That is another reason why quality of care. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I've been to Mexico a few times. Haven't experienced the medical side of the house down there, but I've heard some stories, read some stuff about it, and yeah, it's truly There's not a lot of regulations, so there's a lot of problems in the medical world down there, and especially in poorer areas. And it's no wonder why the richer people leave and will go to countries that have better medical care. Medical tourism is a big thing. Like Thailand's really big on that. Korea is really big on medical tourism. They're, for cosmetic surgery and even regular surgeries, Korea does really well. The prices are just great. But when you can take and you can get like a hip replacement or knee replacement, and you can go overseas to Thailand and get that done and pay X amount of dollars and end up having a little vacation out of it with airfare included, versus the United States where you're going to be riddled with a lot of debt. Yeah, it's no wonder medical tourism is a thing. So that's another benefit of being overseas. Like Korea, for example, if you end up having like cancer, they pay for like almost all of it for the treatments that you get. That's just one of the things. If you have Korean national health insurance, and if you have cancer, they really put their citizens first in regards to treatment and everything. Not like the United States. Other countries, I'm not so sure about. But yeah, it ends up, it's overseas retirement is different. You're going to make some compromises on certain things, but overall, it's definitely been good for us. So I don't know if it'd be good for anybody else, but it's definitely been a good thing for us, and something to look into, to consider, and to kind of rummage around and do the numbers and see if it works out. And if you end up retiring and staying in the United States, that's absolutely cool too. Go on vacation. Just enjoy your life when you retire. That is definitely a big thing. With that, it is, what time is it? It is almost 9 o'clock, and I haven't even had breakfast, so I'm starving. The wife should be coming home soon. Maybe we'll go out and have some breakfast. But with that, yeah, I just want to do a video and talk about humidity, and then we got sidetracked into a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I have it on YouTube. So I think we're watching this on YouTube. So I posted on YouTube, being retired in Korea. My Facebook page, Steve Wilson. I do video streaming on that. This one I'm just streaming on YouTube. But yes, like and subscribe to stay abreast of all the stuff that goes on. And if you've got good information, email me at officialthevariedlife@gmail.com, and then we can share more information for everybody that is choosing to retire overseas here in Korea. Okay? Alrighty, well, I'm going to get cleaned up, and I think we're going to, man, it's humid already. It's like, it's not too bad. It's going down, but it's getting a little warm. But thankfully, we got some cloud cover. So that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate that, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace. Good stuff. Let's see, how do I turn this thing off? I think it's that right there. Are you sure you want to stop? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.